Welcome to this video on substitutions or interchange players in Footy Blast. I think I showed you this in video 1, the score sheet. It's what you get with the game. I've enhanced it and put these yellow line boxes in to indicate that it's time to do an interchange, and it's always at the start of a period or at the start of the 11th minute, with the exception of if you have a ground blast that would take it over that line, then you would do the ground blast and then do the interchange. So here we go. We're just going to use Sydney, and you'll see the reason why I'm using different coloured wherever they are. I use 4 for the home team interchange players, 4 for the away team interchange players, and then a load of blue ones in my case for the starters. So we get to 11 minutes and we decide that we're going to take some players off. Let's have a look what we've got. Might as well do it right. Let's just zoom out a bit so you can see the 4 at the bottom. So if I push that up a bit, push those up, these are the interchange players that have come off over here. We've got a forward, as you can see, we've got forward, midfield, midfield, forward, midfield, because this is an as lined up. If you were playing it where you were choosing your own players, you must have a defender, midfield and forward, but this is the way it is. As you can see here, defensive midfield, you can move him back. So let's say we take this guy off and we bring McDonald on. So we put a green chip on him because he is an interchange player. We'll take 2 midfielders off. Let's take him off and him off. And we're going to bring Campbell on, interchange player, Warner on, interchange player, and let's say we're going to take this guy off, move him to the defense, and he is an interchange player as well. So there we have the first interchange. So we play to the end of the first period, and at the beginning of the second period we have to bring those 4 players back on. So we look at the 4 players and we go, right, Sam Reed is coming back on. I'm going to take Isaac Heaney off. So we put Reed in and we put a blue chip in. Now also note, he's got 3 stars, he's got 2, so he's got a better chance of scoring, so you move him up because he's got a better range to score in. We've got a midfielder here. Let's take Blakey off. We've got a defensive or forward player here, so let's take Hewitt off. And this is to start the second half, remember. And then we've got another mid player here, but I'm going to stick him in defence for the moment. So now what we have at the start of the second player is we've got the 4 interchange players and 4 rested players, and we would play another 10 minutes, and so we're at the 11th minute of the second half of the second quarter, and these 4 players would then come back on again, and we do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to run through it. I'm not going to keep mentioning who they are. So we bring these 4 players on, and again I'm not taking a great deal of notice of what the stars are. It's just trying to show you how this process works. So these players, that's the setup until the end of the first half, end of the second period, and this is where these 4 chips come in handy, because at the start of the second period you go back to your starting lineup. So these players will come back off, the green chips will come off, and we'll put the rested players back on, and again I'm not taking notice of whether I'm putting them in the right place, I'm just giving you the process. So now what you've got at the start of the second half is your interchange players are back on the bench and you've got your starting lineup again. So we go through to the 11th minute of the third period and the interchange players come back on. And again we take players that have not yet rested, and the green chips come back on because they are the interchange players, they're not the starters. And here we are for the second period of the game. So for the second part of the third period, and we come to the end of the third period, and this is where it becomes interesting because there's only two players left to rest. So he comes off and he comes off, and at this point what I do is I take all my blue chip players off, because everybody that's not an interchange player when we start the fourth period has rested, so they're all okay to play. So they get rid of the chips, you don't need them in your way, and then fill in the two spaces, and the other two that come off are going to be two of the four interchange players. And there you have it, we're ready to start the fourth period. And at the 11th minute of the fourth period, the other two players will come on, the two interchange players will go off, and the last part of your game is played with the starting lineups. And so that is why different coloured chips are very useful for the interchange players in helping you do your substitutions.